All right, now that we have set up our canvas and we have the right size, so an 8.5 by 11-inch canvas, we are ready to start cutting out images and learning how to do that in Procreate. So here you can see that I have an image that has no background to it. So it used to have a background to it. It was a photograph, and I cut it out, so now I just have this nice figure and the background's transparent around them. So I will show you how to do that. And I'll clear that out for us. So we're going to start up at the top. We're going to hit our Actions button, which is that wrench tool. And we are going to hit Add. So remember that there's all these options. Hit Add and then Insert a Photo. Yours should be in your album called Collage Images. So over here. And then I did this figure. Now, before you start cutting it out, you want to decide on how big you want it. So it'll automatically kind of fit it to the dimensions of our canvas, which is fine. It's great. If you want to make it bigger, you can always pinch in and or pinch and out and make it bigger. Or you can pinch inwards to make it smaller. Like we learned, having larger images is a little bit better because you can always make things smaller, but when you try to size them up, they get kind of pixelated and warped in a bad way. So I would say to make this a little bit larger. So I'm just pinching in. You can also use the handlebars on the sides. So those little dots on the sides, if you grab those, you can size them down or size them up. We are currently in the transform tool. So up at the top, you can see that the transform tool is blue. This lets you kind of edit the photo in any way that you want to. So like I said, you can make it smaller, bigger. There's a green little dot at the top center. If I click on that green dot, I can rotate my image. If that's something that you need to do, you can rotate images. At the bottom, I have a menu that I can mess around with. So if I've kind of messed it up and for some reason it looks weird now, I can reset it. And that should be nice and easy for you. We're going to talk about all of these. So you have what's called snapping. That's just kind of an option you can turn on, but it's not something that we really need to deal with right now. You can flip things if you want to be facing an opposite way, or if you took it in a mirror, then you can flip things. You can flip them vertically if they're upside down for you. You can rotate them. If yours is sideways, just hit that a couple of times. You can fit it to the screen again. That kind of reset it for me, but sometimes if it's really small, it'll make it larger for you. So if I make it small but fit it to the screen, it'll make it nice and big for me. And then for you, you don't have to worry about the bilinear one. There are different options like freeform, distort, and warp. So we'll kind of go over those quickly. So let's start with freeform. So freeform means that if I take any of those little blue corners or sides, I can make this like squash down. I can make it really tall and skinny. So that's what freeform does, is it lets me kind of transform in a freer way. So I don't have to worry about the proportions of anything. But usually when I'm working with pictures and photographs, I don't necessarily want to make things out of proportion. So I don't use them. When you're on uniform, if I try to make things smaller or larger, it'll keep your proportions there, which is why we like to do uniform. Distort is fun to play with, and you can do interesting things and angle things. And then finally, warp will let you do a lot more things. So you can see there's kind of a grid on top, so you can click on the grid and it will warp things for you. So this will be a fun way for you to kind of edit photos if you really want to. Again, ours is just regular. I would stick to uniform for most of this. Make your photo a little bit larger so that you can, make it smaller if you want later. And then once you are done, you can hit on that blue arrow again up at the top, and that's it. Now it should be in a layer for you. Usually when I'm demoing, I like to label all of my layers so they're easier for you to talk about, because if I keep saying like layer 1, layer 2, that's annoying. So I'm going to go and rename this photo. or figure or both. So photo, figure, that's my layer. I'm going to call it the photo layer. Okay, so you can see that I have a nice background here, but I don't want that, and I just want my figure kind of by itself. So there are a couple of ways that you can approach this. While you're in this layer, if you take your eraser, make sure you have a nice brush. So I like to use the round brush. You can do the painstaking work of trying to erase the layer and try to go kind of around your person. That's like the cheap, like really fast, or like the really simple way to do this, but it's not the best, honestly. So what I like to do is I like to use the select tool. So up at the top, you have the select tool, and we're going to use that to select our person and to cut them out of the background. So I'm going to click on the select tool, and out of all the options at the bottom, you're going to click on freehand. So you can see ellipse, rectangle, freehand, automatic. Go to freehand, and you're going to hit on add. I use a stylus for this, but your finger also works. You just want to zoom in really well and start at one end and go all the way around. Pretend like we're using scissors, right? So I'm going to cut my person out. I'm going to start at the bottom over here, and I'm just going to trace that arm. You can see that the undo menu is just gone. So if I want to undo, remember that I have to click with 2 fingers. So tap with 2 fingers to undo something if you mess up. So freehand is nice. If you want to make a really straight line, then you click one and then find your next point and you click there. It'll make a very straight line for you. If you have anything that's kind of boxy or straight, then that's great. Otherwise, all you need to do is trace. So I'm going to get in really close and I'm going to trace all of these parts. Again, kind of pretend like they're scissors. So angle it so that it's easy for you to trace all of these things as best as you can. So I'm going to go around my figure. And anytime I mess up, I'll just tap with 2 fingers to undo. So you can go in kind of small little increments, whatever way is the most effective for you. But you want to be really, really careful. All right. If your person has like a lot of wispy hairs or details, you can simplify. So I'm not going to get all of the stray flyaway hairs that are on here, but I'm going to just simplify and go around the main parts of this. Oops. Sometimes it'll be easier for you to back away, sometimes it'll be easier for you to zoom in really hard. Okay. So I don't really want any of that black part, so I am just using this dotted line kind of like where I would cut. And then I'm going to make a mistake that I will fix later. So I'm going to accidentally forget to trace my arm. Now when you want to fully select something, you have to go back to our first dot. So I'm going to just go all the way back to my first dot and click on it. And now you have selected the figure. So everything that's like still clear are things that are selected and you can still work with them. Everything else, like the background, now has these diagonal lines going through it. That means I can't do anything on there. So let's say I wanted to erase. So if I try to erase this now, I can't erase the background. I keep trying to, but every time I go over it, it's basically locked. So that's not selected. I can only work on stuff that is selected at the moment. And so now I have my person, and I don't want to erase her. I want to erase the background. I also forgot a part of my arm. So I need to go back in and fix that. So right now, if I want to go back and fix it, you can, if you want to, just undo as many times as you need to. But it won't actually do what you need it to. So you can see if I undo, it's not taking me back to my select tool. Instead, I have to go all the way up to the top here, and I'm going to hold down the select button. So instead of just clicking on it, if I click on it, everything goes away. But if I hold it down, So I'm going to press on it and hold it. It'll pop up my menu again. So at the bottom, I can just keep adding. So as long as it says add at the bottom, I can just draw my arm in and add that to my selection. So now my arm is included. Opposite is if I accidentally added too much. So let's say I included some of the background there. I can hit remove and I can remove everything that I don't want anymore. So you can add things or you can remove them if they don't belong. Remove works really nice if you have any empty spaces, like let's say over here. That's not part of me, so I want to get rid of it. So if your like arms are forming a hole in negative space, then you can remove those and then you can always add things back in later. Anyways, so now I am fully selected and I look good. I have all the different parts of me that I need and there's not a lot of mistakes. So while this menu is open, remember if it accidentally closes for some reason, you just hold it down again. So hold down the select tool. I'm only affecting the actual like little figure right now. So I can do a couple of things to copy my person and cut them out. So the first way that I like to do the most is at the bottom here, I will hit, instead of add or remove, there's invert. So now my person is kind of locked and I can erase all this kind of background instead. So I'll make my eraser nice and big and I'll just, go in and I'll scrub my background out. Well, there you go. If you remember from our gestures, you can also literally just use 3 fingers to kind of scrub away the background. And my person won't be scrubbed out because they're like not selected. So I'll take 3 fingers and I'll just like scrub them all over. Sometimes that doesn't work. There we go. So that one's not my favorite way, obviously. But that is another thing that you can do. So you take this and you can try your best with 3 fingers to scrub them out. Worked so amazing that time. Okay, so those are some options for you. If you also recall, you can swipe 3 fingers down. So now that I have my background selected instead, you can do a 3-finger swipe down. So down with 3 fingers and it'll pop up your copy and paste menu. My background is not anything that I want, so I want to cut it away. So I'll hit the cut button and now it's gone. Now I have my person. If for some reason you absolutely love your background and you just want the person to be cut out separately, then you can hit your copy and paste again. And you can try like a cut and paste, or I think that might work. So now I have my person is cut away and my background is there still, but I don't really need that, so I can delete it. So now I just have a picture of myself. There are so many ways that you can cut out a person, but basically you want to use the select tool to do that. And now that that's there, I have a nice clean picture of myself. If you see any areas that need some more cleanup, like over here it got a little too angly, I'll take my eraser and I'll go over any areas that don't look right. So over here I got a little bit of background in, and you can go in and just kind of fix that. All right. So this is finalized. I can take it and I can just kind of move it around. I want to keep it in the middle because, again, if I put it over here and get out of here, now that part of me is cut off forever. So let's undo that and just keep them in the middle for now. You're going to practice that with several different objects. So you're going to go in. Let's add something else to here. So insert another photo from my collage images, and I don't know what theme to go with, so I'll say that I really like all the purple that's happening, I guess. So I'll take one of these really pretty purple flowers that I found. So let's do that one. Have some nice colors like that in here anyways. So you can put it on top. It doesn't really matter because it's on its own layer, and we can do the same thing. So just to review, take your select tool. You can start anywhere you want to. Treat it like it's scissors. If you want to zoom in, you can do this. If you mess up, then you can hit the undo button by clicking with 2 fingers. Just kind of doing this fast and loose. So I've selected it. My person is selected. If you want to, you can like copy and paste. So at the bottom, you can hit copy and paste. It does the same thing. So that's another fast way to do this. So I have my like original insert image, and then I copied and pasted, and now I have just the actual flower itself. I can delete the old one, and now I just have a nice like cutout one. So go about that whatever way you want to, and cut out a couple of different things. I would say like at least 1 figure and maybe 2 other different things for practice. The end.